Hi everyone, welcome to the official YouTube channel of Law Prep Tutorial, and this is the fifth video in the series Learn Vocabulary with Us. And on popular demand and on the huge response and the great response that you had shown in the last 4 videos, we have come up with the fifth one, and the fifth one is particularly dedicated to the words that you will find in editorials. The words that you'll see, the idioms or phrases that you'll see next, they have been sourced from the Indian Express and the Hindu, the editorial section. Let's have a look. And again, as in the last few videos that we did, I have tried to cluster the words according to the theme that they apply to, right? The very first one that you see here is about navigating difficult situations, as in these words were used जहाँ पे either the government or any institution as such, when they were surrounded or engulfed by problems, or those problems जहाँ से निकलना बहुत मुश्किल होता है या जहाँ से solution find करके coming out is extremely difficult. So the first word that we found was the word conundrum. And conundrum is used जब आप किसी एक ऐसे problem में या किसी एक ऐसी situation में फंसे होते हो जहाँ पे it is extremely difficult to resolve it. And the synonyms that we have for it are puzzle, enigma. Enigma is also mystery. So enigma, riddle, mystery, dilemma. Dilemma is when you have a lot of options, but then you are confused. You don't have the actually understand which way should I pick or which option should I pick and what to do next. That's dilemma, puzzle, enigma, riddle, or a puzzle, mystery. And antonyms for it, of course, now since the word is about anything that you don't know how to resolve, or any word that you don't know how to come up with a solution of. So the antonyms should be something about which आपके पास clarity हो, you have a clear thought or a clear mindset about, or answer, resolution and solution. Next word related to the same theme is predicament. अब predicament और conundrum, they sound similar for a reason कि दोनों उसी केस में हम यूज़ करते हैं जब we are in a situation which is tough or which is difficult and there is a solution or there is an outcome that needs to be taken care of. But yes, the difference between predicament and conundrum is कि predicament is such situation जहाँ पे it is extremely tough to come out of it. आप predicament को समझ सकते हो as in getting yourself stuck in a दलदल, and दलदल से निकलना is extremely, or a swamp or a marsh जहाँ से निकलना बहुत tough होता है because it tries to capture you or take you inside, right? The word predicament, synonyms होते हैं dilemma, again because of the reason that there is no clear thought or clear resolution that comes to your mind. Then you also have words like jam, bind, quandary. Quandary, jam or bind, something that sticks you, something that tries to take you in. These are the two words for navigating difficult situations, sourced from the Hindu, and this was from the third week of the Hindu. The next was about describing decline and momentum, as in जब चीज़ों की speed या चीज़ों का pace कम होने लगता है, what kinds of words do we use then? The first is flagging and the other is plateauing. Now flagging or plateauing दोनों again context similar हैं, the way or the place where we use it can be somewhat similar, but yes, there is a considerable difference. अगर आप flagging की बात करोगे तो flagging का मतलब होता है जब there is something which loses its vigor, किसी चीज़ की एक strength होती है, एक apparent और एक बहुत ही visible strong attitude या strong nature होता है, या कुछ ऐसा जो enervate होने लगे, which gradually loosens its energy, which gradually loosens its spark. For that we use the word flagging, और flagging के synonyms आप use कर सकते हो deteriorating, something that is reducing, कुछ ऐसा जो बहुत vigor अपना lose कर रहा हो, अपना strength lose कर रहा हो. So weakening, dwindling, waning. Waning is also something which is diminishing or reducing. Then deteriorating, again related to something that's getting reduced. Antonyms of course कुछ ऐसे होंगे जहाँ पे कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो बहुत ज़्यादा flourish, बहुत ज़्यादा grow कर रही हूँ, exponentially grow कर रही हूँ. So prospering, vigorous, flourishing and thriving, that's the antonym that you can use for flagging. The next is plateauing, and plateauing को समझने के लिए the best example that you can use is of an actual plateau. If you look at the actual structure of a plateau, it comes at a certain point and a flat structure erupts there, and that flat structure is where things plateau, और जहाँ पे चीज़ें रुक जाती हैं. Just like in case of a geographical plateau के एक surface के beyond there is no progress which is there. So similarly if we talk about things getting plateaued, तो उसका सिर्फ सीधा सा मतलब ये होता है कि beyond that place or beyond that point there is no progress, there is no growth that happens. And for that we use the synonym leveling off, stabilizing or flattening. Flattening as in a flat growth or a growth which has become just subdued. Antonyms of course इसके हो जाएंगे जहाँ पे we see that growth जो है वो रुकी नहीं है, growth has not halted or stopped, it continues even after that. So the antonyms that you can use are rising, growing and increasing. The next in series is about emotional reactions and emotional states that we are in. Or emotional reaction or emotional states के लिए the words that we found in the editorial from the Indian Express, the words were consternation, chagrin and angst. Now consternation हम तब यूज़ करते हैं जब हम एक एंग्जाइटी के स्टेट में होते हैं. We are in a state of anxiety, we are extremely worried or we are extremely stressed out. For that we use the word consternation. So anxiety, dismay हो सकता है, confusion हो सकता है, you can be alarmed, you can be shocked. So एक state of shock, एक state of anxiety, stress, worry और a state of confusion जो तब होता है जब हम किसी ऐसी चीज़ या किसी ऐसी situation को face कर रहे होते हैं which we did not even expect to happen. So for that we use the word consternation. Like you see the example, the announcement caused widespread consternation among stakeholders. That is, the stakeholders were possibly not expecting कि किसी कोई ऐसा announcement होगा, something that can shock them, something that can make them feel bewildered or confused. That's consternation for you. The next word is chagrin. Now chagrin is a situation जहाँ पे आप बहुत ही disappointed और बहुत ही ज़्यादा embarrassed होते हो. And if I talk about the synonyms also, synonyms for the word chagrin, so synonyms can be vexed that is annoyed, vexation. You can also be embarrassed. You can also feel awkward about things, or you can also have a sense of displeasure about things. So that's chagrin. Much to his chagrin, the proposal was rejected unanimously. Much to his chagrin means much to the person's embarrassment, much to the person's annoyance. That is that the rejection of that project or the rejection of the proposal could have made the person feel annoyed, could have made him feel embarrassed about it. So that's chagrin for you. And the next word that we have here is angst. Now angst is a German phrase and angst is used जब एक बहुत ही ज़्यादा state of anxiety होती है, एक state of worry या stress होता है, और साथ में there is a fear also. Apprehension is fear, dread is something that can make you feel horrified or make you feel uneasy also. So anxiety, dread, apprehension or fear or a sense of uneasiness, that's angst. The next in line is about behavior, behavioral descriptors, words which can describe our behavior. And the words that we found from the Hindu and the Indian Express, the words are obnoxious, petulant and foolhardy. Starting with the word obnoxious, of course. Now obnoxious हम किसी ऐसी चीज़ के लिए यूज़ करते हैं which can be offensive. Obnoxious can be offensive. Obnoxious can be something on which there can be a disagreement. Anything that is offensive, anything that's disagreeable, anything that has got something objectionable in that can be objectionable for someone, या कुछ ऐसा जिसको लोग detest कर सकते हैं. Now detest is basically dislike. So anything that people can dislike, anything that people can find highly objectionable or something that might not sound good to them, anything that can be unpleasant या anything that can be repulsive, something जो repel करता हो, something that makes them go apart or makes them feel apart, not something that attracts. So that's obnoxious. Next is the word petulant. Petulant हम तब यूज़ करते हैं जब हम बहुत ही irritating behavior show करते हैं, just like a child does. So एक childishly sulky or bad tempered, showing sudden irritation over trivial matters, that is छोटी मोटी बातों पे, irrelevant बातों पे excessive anger show करना, excessive irritation show करना, being very much sulky or touchy, as if even if something trivial or something, even something that is minuscule happens, in that case also you try to show your annoyance, you try to show your arrogance, you try to show your irritating behavior. That's petulance. The next is foolhardy. A foolhardy may understand the word that it has the word fool there. So anything that a fool would do, anything a fool person or anything a person who is bold or also bold in a certain negative way. Negative way मतलब आप कोई भी reckless चीज़ें, कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ें जो आप usually in a person with a sane mind would not do. So reckless or careless things or extremely bold or rash, doing something like that is being foolhardy. That is not doing something that's practical, something that is prudent enough for you. That's foolhardy for you. The next is about conflict and confrontation. Or conflict and confrontation में we found two idioms also. on a collision course, and theater of conflict. These were the two idioms that we found. One is an idiom, other one is a phrase. On a collision course, of course, since it has the word collision and course, so it can be about things जहाँ पे there is a certain head-on disagreement or there is a head-on collision or there is something जहाँ पे एक conflict या एक ऐसा confrontation या situation erupt हो सकता है जहाँ पे we can get in a face-to-face conflict or we can get into a face-to-face disagreement with someone. For that we use the idiom on a collision course. मतलब you know that you are on a path and anything that might happen in the future on that path will be a head-on or a face-to-face confrontation or a face-to-face disagreement or conflict. The next one was theater of conflict, and of course theater ko we use for a closed area where we go and watch something. So if we talk about theater in the context of a conflict, in the context of a conflict, a theater of conflict can be an area, it can be a place or a space जहाँ पे बहुत सारे conflicts, disputes, disagreements, anything such can take place. And the word, another word associated with conflict was fractious. And fractious को हम तब use करते हैं when we know that चीज़ें बहुत unruly हों. Unruly as in just like a mob. You cannot control a mob. A mob is unruly beyond control. So unruly, control, difficult to control, quarrelsome, just like a mob. That's fractious for you. Next in line is about negotiation and strategy idioms. ये वो idioms हैं, ये वो phrases हैं जिन्हें हम तब use करते हैं. And if these idioms were there in both the Indian Express as well as the Hindu, and these idioms were used to show that there is a certain negotiation, there is a certain discussion about possibly settling a truce or possibly settling a fight that was happening, or some agreements possibly related to business agreements or economic agreements also. The three idioms that we found were driving a hard bargain, hedging their bets, and carrot and stick approach. Now the most common one from this is the carrot and stick one. Carrot and stick policy, we come across it multiple number of times, and carrot and stick approach या carrot and stick policy use तब की जाती है जब you try to give rewards also and you try to give punishments also, so that the person or the party that you are discussing or having an agreement with has an idea about compliance or cooperation also. That is, it can encourage them to be cooperative also, and at the same time it can make them realize or understand that for any non-compliance or for any non-cooperation that they show, they can be dealt with strongly in terms of a stick or with a punishment also. That's carrot and stick approach. Hedging their bets. Hedging their bets में the keyword that you need to understand is the word hedging. अच्छा, hedging को समझने के लिए you can take the example of actual hedges that we grow in the gardens. And hedges जब हम garden में grow करते हैं, the purpose is to shield the other plants or to make a boundary there. So when you hedge your bets, then what you are actually doing is you are trying to protect yourself. You are trying to protect yourself or separate yourself or make a border around yourself so that there is no loss that you actually face. So hedging their bets can be used for protecting yourself or protecting oneself against any loss. And the first one is driving a hard bargain. Of course, this sounds easy and is quite literally the same thing. Bargain is when we try to negotiate, जैसे हम मोल भाव भी कहते हैं. So when we talk about driving a hard bargain, an easy bargain could be one where you actually get really successful and quick at making the other person agree to what you want. But when it's hard, it is about a situation जहाँ पे एक difficult situation या एक tough situation or a complicated situation can come जहाँ पे the other party that you're trying to deal with or get into agreement with is also not ready to accept all your agreements or all your points. So driving a hard bargain is about negotiating in such a case or such a space जहाँ पे negotiation बहुत ही tough हो and the other person is not actually willing or ready to compromise as per your agreements or as per your points. And the last is complex processes and obstacles. And complex processes and obstacles may we have four words: bottleneck, arduous, fraught, and protracted. And if we come to the word bottleneck here, bottleneck is a point of congestion. Now understand, for example, if there is a highway, a 4-lane or a 6-lane highway, and suddenly that 4-lane or a 6-lane highway comes and joins a road or a street, तो understand what will happen is that there is a lot of traffic which would come and suddenly just like एक bottle का neck होता है ना of such as of a structure जहाँ पे it is wide at the bottom but then too narrow at the top. So that kind of effect is जहाँ पे किसी एक जगह पे एक बहुत ज़्यादा congestion, बहुत ज़्यादा obstruction create हो जाता है. So if anything has a bottleneck effect, it simply means that एक certain point पे बहुत ज़्यादा congestion हो सकता है, एक certain point पे बहुत ज़्यादा impediments या obstructions आकर खड़े हो सकते हैं. Anything that can have a bottleneck effect can result in a lot of obstruction, can result in a lot of impediments or something that can slow down the progress. That can be bottleneck. Next is arduous. Now we use the word arduous for anything which requires a lot of energy, which requires a lot of our hard work. So anything that is arduous is something that is about a lot of effort, something that is extremely difficult, something that requires a lot of strain from our side, a lot of energy from our side. That's arduous for you. Something which requires too much of energy, something that is too much demanding in terms of our capacity, in terms of our involvement. Yeah, something that is laborious, something that is about extreme involvement or extreme labor. Next is fraught, and फ्रॉड को यूजुअली हम फॉलो करते हैं विथ बिकॉज यू नीड टू एसोसिएट एन ऑब्जेक्ट और यू नीड टू एसोसिएट समथिंग जिसके साथ यू आर फ्रॉड ऑफ. अब फ्रॉड के साथ इट इज़ समथिंग विच इन्वॉल्व्स अ लॉट ऑफ टेंशन. यूजुअली हम फ्रॉड तब यूज़ करते हैं ना जब द सिचुएशन बहुत ज़्यादा टेंस्ड हो, इस सिचुएशन में बहुत ज़्यादा टेंशन इन्वॉल्व हो. दैट इज़ व्हेन वी यूज़ द वर्ड फ्रॉड. देयर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ वरी, देयर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ स्ट्रेस और एंग्जाइटी. एंड द लास्ट वर्ड फॉर द सेशन टुडे इज़ प्रोट्रैक्टेड. Protracted is specifically used when you delay something or when you elongate something. किसी चीज़ के किन्हीं दो चीज़ों के बीच का space है, किन्हीं दो चीज़ों के बीच का timeline है. When you try to delay it or you try to just prolong it, you try to make the timeline or you try to just intentionally make the timeline or the time gap increase. That is protracted, that is extend, make it lengthy or make it drawn out. So these were the 20 words that we had today from the editorial section of the Hindu and the Indian Express. We'll definitely try to come up with such more videos जहाँ पे we'll obviously focus on editorials from the Hindu and the Indian Express yet again. Just in case you need any other video on any other significant topic, do let us know in the comment section below. Thank you.